This guy have actually worked with Elon Musk.
Elon Musk that produced something that you have no interest in purchasing, but you were captivated by his unveiling.
And other super successful people and had dinner with them. Not only that, but also he spoke as a public speaker in Pentagon and Harvard twice. He's actually Steve Sims. He actually wrote a book which is also called Go For Stupid.
People are inherently terrible at brand,
which is all about not caring about other people's opinion and just go and do it. If you're thinking about how he did it, let's find out in the interview. So please welcome Steve Sims. Hey, Steve.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Well, truly appreciate it. Like, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm rather excited for this. So thank you.
Awesome. So, like, if people don't know your backstory, like how the journey was, like, for you, probably been like more than a decade or like 2 decades or so. Like, can you like walk us through a brief backstory, like how things started from you to the point where you are at the moment?
It's the same as everybody else. I grew up in a shitty little town just outside of London. I never had any money. I knew what being poor was like because it stinks. And it aggravated me. So I wanted to go out and find people that had money. And when you're young, you think the answer to everything is money. So when you're 15 years old, you just want money. Everything will be great as long as I have money. So I went out to try and find people that had money. Then I wanted to find people that were wealthy. Then I wanted to find people that were successful. And all of these things are different. And so I ended up just trying to find a way of getting to talk to these people. And I didn't want to talk to poor people because I knew what that was like. I was poor and it didn't get me anywhere. So my whole focus was to try and find really successful, wealthy people, do what they wanted. If you wanted to meet Elton John, if you wanted to, have a private dinner party at the feet of David, if you wanted to go to the Titanic, any of those things that I did. And as I've always said, the business I was in was not the business I was in. The business I was in was to get the conversation with rich people. It just meant that I had to do these things to get it. So for 25 years, I did that. Then I released the book, BLUEFISHING. Now I coach and I speak all over the planet. And then I recently just released the latest book, Go For Stupid, to hopefully try and change the culture that we're in today. So that's the brief.
Awesome. That's amazing. And one thing that you mentioned around was that you were, curious enough to figure out a way so that you can, somehow be able to go in and build that sort of, network with, high level entrepreneurs or business owners out there. But one thing that you mentioned, I want to talk about is the differentiation between somebody who have money versus somebody who is rich versus somebody who's wealthy. Like, how you define the differentiation between like all three? What's the differentiation between all three, according to you?
So as I was growing up, again, we all focus on money. And so I used to literally, and I'm not very subtle, and I was even worse then. So I used to go up to people that were wealthy, and I'd be like, hey, RJ, how come you're rich and I'm not? Now, when you ask that kind of question, people get very restrictive. They get very hesitant about answering it because, when I ask you how rich you are, straight away you think about your investment portfolio, your cryptocurrency, your bank account. It's a number. It's not an emotion. It's not a trigger. It's a number. And most people don't want to tell you how big the number is or how small the number is. So it's not good. The question was terrible. And I always realized, or I learned, that if you don't like the answer, it's because you're asking the wrong question. So I realized that I'm trying to get people's bank balance. And if I go, hey, how come you're rich? And they turn around and go, $3,431,000. How does that help me? So I was asking the wrong question. So then I started asking people, how come you're wealthy and I'm not? And that used to be the question I would ask. I got a different answer, but then I got things like, well, it's because I found God. It's because I married my wife. It's because I got a team around me. It was because of my best friend or my near-death experience or my kids. And I'm thinking, well, I'm not going to marry your wife and have your kids, so that doesn't help me. So again, if I didn't like the answer, I was asking the wrong question. So then I changed it. And my final tweak of this question was, how come you're successful and I'm not? Now, the beautiful thing about that is the word success is a unicorn. It's different to anybody. You know, if I say to you, hey, are you successful? You could be successful and you may have $500,000 in the bank. Yes, someone else is successful and they have 5 billion. So
Yep.
success isn't attached to the bank account. It encompasses the life, what you stand for. So I started to get the answers I wanted. So I always, when I speak to people now, I want to find out, what is your definition of success and are you it? And so that's what I focus on now. And I'm very, very lucky to have conversations with some of the richest people in the planet and some of the wealthiest and the most powerful that you've never heard of. But I've been able to sit down and have a cocktail with them and go, hey, you own a country, you know,
Yep.
are you successful? Would you say you were successful? And it's astonishing, some of the answers I've got. So I've been very fortunate with that.
Yeah. Well, that's a pretty thoughtful answer, how you actually mentioned that differentiation, because a lot of, what I think personally is, a lot of people get stuck with, again, as you mentioned, asking the wrong question to the, to the people out there, where they could get amazing answers for their problems. According to that, as you mentioned around success, and everybody have their own success and the meaning of success to it, why you think people, pretend, or people feel like that they need to have an external validation of what success looks like? Like, what's your thought on that? Since you've interacted with a lot of people out there, I'm pretty sure you might have heard like all the stories, like, they're comparing everybody to each other. Like, what's your thought on that?
It's a byproduct of the environment we are in today. And I said to you that I've spoken to some of the most powerful people in the world you've never heard of. And they look at success differently to the people that are in the public eye. Now, today we're in a society where if you don't have a nice car and you don't have an attractive partner and you don't have an amazing mansion, you're not successful. But I know people that have got none of that, and they have the bank balance that could buy you 20 times, but they don't have those things. So you've got to understand, are you looking at your relationship to success, or is your relationship to success being dictated by social networks? Are you looking at what you see on Instagram and going, well, unless I have that watch, and we all have. I remember years, and there was an article on it in BLUEFISHING, you may have read it, where I realized I was looking at the wrong things. Now, I've always been on a motorbike. I'm on motorbikes now. I recently just bought a truck, which is the first bloody car I bought in years. But for a long time, I had a problem with myself thinking, well, I don't have a sports car. I don't have an expensive watch. I haven't got a watch on now. I thought to myself, if I don't have those things, am I really successful? And what a crazy thing to ask yourself, because if you want it, get it. But for you to actually start getting it because, hey, that's what you're being told you need, that's where the toxic environment starts. So I'm very much about today really having more conversations with yourself. What do you want? What do you need? What excites you? What challenges you? What scares you? And focus on your life and not somebody else's.
Well, yeah, that's definitely interesting. On the way you talked about, it's all about the internal validation, questioning yourself internally, and just go ahead with that. So speaking of that, you mentioned about you've been able to interact with a lot of successful people, which are known and unknown. Like not a lot, not in the public eye, as you mentioned. So how you were able to make yourself stand out of those people out there, so that you were able to connect with them down the road. So what was it look like for you?
The funny thing is, and this is funny because I should be out of business. I should be broke and have nothing. But I've partnered with a branding company called SIMS Media, and all we focus on is branding. And the reason I laugh at this is because people are inherently terrible at branding. And the daft thing is, the
Mm.
second you enter into a marketplace, whether it be finance, whether it be real estate, whether it be jewelry, fashion, rap, athletics, any marketplace you move into, you immediately start looking like everyone else in that marketplace. You know, if you were to release a song tomorrow in rap, you'd start dressing more like a rapper. You'd start driving the vehicles like a rapper. You'd
Yep.
start speaking. You start. Well, the sad thing is, the second you start doing that, you all look the same. Now, I run a branding company, and the first thing I do is get rid of all the bullshit that you've put up. All of the stupid pictures that aren't you, the copy, the statements that aren't you. Get rid of all of those things that you think are you, but they're not really you. And I
Mm.
learned this by not branding. And this was the funny thing. It was really strange to see this happening. I never cared about me. I always thought to myself, well, I'm a big ugly guy in a black t-shirt turning up on a motorbike. You know, I don't know what to do. You know, this is it. So whenever I would walk into
Yep.
a room, I'd be like, hey, RJ, how are we going to make you successful? How are we going to make you more impactful? How are we going to give you a great story? How are we going to do this for you? I would focus all my energy on you. So because I never focused on a website, because I never focused on my image, because I never focused on my personality, my tonality, my vibrance, any of that, I got known for what I did. I was the man that can. I was the real life Wizard of Oz. This guy shows up, and it was amazing when I started hearing this. People used to say, oh, you should meet Steve Sims. The guy's real. Now, how bad is
Yeah.
it that today a highlight, an accolade, a compliment is that you're real? Isn't that kind
Yeah.
of a bit kind of screwed up, you know? So it bothered me. And at the stage, I'm thinking, he's just introduced me as being real. I haven't tried to do anything. I've just been me. I haven't tried a brand. I haven't tried to rent a car I don't own. I haven't tried to buy a fake watch just to make me look more important. I haven't tried to do anything, you know? But I've shown up. And in today's economy of branding, most people fail to, because they turn up as someone that you hope they will like, that maybe looks like the kind of person that fits into that industry. But now here's where the stupidity is. Everyone that's been hugely successful in that field has stood out. And they've stood out by being themselves. Serena Williams, Eminem. Eminem was the most successful rapper, skinny white dude. You know, he wasn't drenched in gold. Skinny white dude became the best and most successful rapper of basically all time during his period. You know, Tiger Woods. Again, Larry Page, Elon Musk, Richard Branson, Edison, Henry Ford. Anybody that did anything wonderful didn't try to conform to anybody else. They stood up and stood out. Steve Jobs. Now, here's the funny thing.
Yep.
If you look at Apple compared to PC, Apple is the second most successful operating hardware. You know, still most companies use PCs. But if you ask someone to name a successful, you know, PC or, you know, alternative, everyone's going to talk about Steve Jobs because he was different.
Cool. Yeah. Well, it's definitely kind of like a complete masterclass, I would say, like how to brand, quote unquote, unbrand yourself so that you don't
Mm.
look the same as everybody else. That is amazing. Speaking of
It's
that,
ridiculous. It's ridiculous how many people actually do that. They spend so much effort and energy trying to look like someone else and then moaning why they don't look unique. It's ridiculous.
yeah, it's just like a robot. I start to remember about I think it was 1983 or 1984 Apple commercial that they had around IBM when there were a lot of robot type people out there, and they coming up, breaking that sort of like stereotype things like that. Something
Yeah.
similar to getting into my mind right now just because of it. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's amazing. Like, speaking of that, I want to talk about the new book that you actually launched as well, which was
Mm.
which was Go for Stupid. Like,
Yeah.
can you let us know, like, what was the purpose of the book, how you came up with the idea of it,
So,
and a little bit more about it?
yeah, I never expected to do a second book. I did Bluefishing. It did very, very well for me all over the world, but I never ever expected to do a second book. And then COVID came across. And all of a
Yeah.
sudden, people started wasting their life. And we couldn't connect with people. We couldn't go out. But then we started rioting and we started shouting and then we started laughing at each other. And during COVID, a time where we couldn't get out and hug each other, we started putting riots online and started doing things like the cancel culture and the gotcha society. We started feasting on each other. And I thought that was terrible. And I couldn't understand why we were like it. And at the time, just like the rest of the world, we thought the big evil in the world was media. We thought media was lying to us and it was evil. And it may well be. But the funny thing is, media's not changed, and nor have we. If we look back over time, we always hated change. We marched. There were people that marched against Henry Ford when he produced the car. They literally organized riots saying that this was satanic and that it would never work and it's wrong. And Henry Ford
Yep.
always said, if I listened to those people, I'd have just built a faster horse. But he stood
Exactly.
out. And then you've got Steve Jobs got the hate. You've got Walt Disney got the hate. I realized that today the problem wasn't the problem with the media. The media just gets information out faster. You could do something today in Washington and it can be seen in Korea 3 seconds after you've posted it. So media is just faster amplification. But as people, we're inherently sarcastic and we don't like people trying different things. We like to think that we evolve and the evolution and Darwin, and we've got to change and adapt to the change and adapt to the times. But as people, we're not very good at that. And when we see someone standing out in the crowd, we want to attack them. Let me give you an example. RJ, where do you live?
I live in Pakistan.
You in Pakistan. Okay. Do you drive a vehicle?
Yep.
What is it a car or is it a truck?
Yeah, it's a car.
Do you like trucks?
I don't know how to drive it, so I'm not pretty much interested into trucks.
All right. Do you want to buy a truck?
Not at the moment, maybe in the future,
Okay.
depending upon the need.
Okay. Did you see the unveiling of Elon Musk's Cybertruck?
Yep.
Hang on a minute. You don't have a truck. You don't want a truck. You don't want to buy a truck, but you watched the unveiling of a truck. Does that
Yeah,
mean, is
exactly.
that so? We've got Elon Musk that produced something that you have no interest in purchasing, but you were captivated by his unveiling. And then on the night of the unveiling, he had a certain amount of slots where you could do a deposit for your future truck. And he managed to sell out all of those before he had actually manufactured the first part. So he built something that you had no interest in. He sold out everything, even though you didn't care. And he captivated the world with what he unveiled. Okay, do
Yep.
you agree with all that?
100%.
Right. So the following day from that unveiling, what was the headlines?
It was mostly around the breaking of the glass of Cybertruck, actually,
Yep.
not the Cybertruck itself.
So he sold it. Think of it as an entrepreneur. As an entrepreneur, he gained the attention all around the world for a product that 99% of the world would not be buying. And he sold out of every single element before he even went into construction. You imagine, as an entrepreneur, you were able to sell out of everything that you did before you even started it. Yet,
Yeah.
what did we decide
Insane.
to do the following day? Did we decide to rejoice that the guy's a genius? Did we decide to give him all the credibility that, my God, you actually pulled off the attention? In today's world, we're in an attention currency. He who wins has got your attention. And he had our attention. But instead of congratulating him, we wanted to laugh at his window. Now, if bulletproof glass is one of the biggest priorities that you need on a car or a truck, you've got bigger problems. So the fact that it broke and the fact that the entire world, all we wanted to do was laugh at him. And this annoyed me. And so I started to write memes. I started to write articles. I started to write blogs. And it became the beginning of this book. And I realized I have to write a book that says, hey, everyone that we admire has gone for something ridiculous and has gone for something theoretically stupid and has been willing to be laughed at. We need to be more like them. We need to get stupid goals and then learn the art of achieving them. We need to focus on standing up and standing out. We need to learn the art of how to brand ourselves properly in order to be those people. And the book just kind of came around. I didn't want to write it. And I wish that the problem hadn't been there. But in a world where we're much happier to laugh at each other than support each other, I had to show you the conversations I had had with these people, how I actually do it, how I can actually help you go for stupid goals and achieve them. And that's what I did. I felt as though, and I hate to say this because it sounds kind of weird, but I felt as though I had to have my say. And I had to help people go, hey, do something stupid. Go for it. Be willing to be laughed at. Be willing to be mocked. And then achieve it and watch them bow.
Yeah. Wow. Well, this is definitely amazing with the context that you actually provided about the idea, like how you came up with the idea of the book. Like, if there is a problem, there's definitely a solution to it, and that's how came with the idea of the book. So, like, where people can go in, and if they want to buy the copy of the book out there, where they can go in and get the book.
Oh, that's easy. Go to stevedsims.com, type in goforstupid.com, or just go to Amazon and look up Go for Stupid by me, Steve D. Sims, and it's all there.
Awesome. So what I will do, I will post up all the resources in the show notes and also in the comment section down below. So anybody who want to go in and get the book and follow Steve as well and be the part of his world, just go and do it. Well, Steve, thank you so much for being on the show today out there. Any last thing that you want to say before we round the show up?
Dare to be different. If you want to stand out, stand up, but start by daring to be different.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. So yeah, again, Steve, thank you so much for being on the show today out there. And yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll definitely going to see you guys in the next episode. Until then, peace out.